do 10 seconds of silence, and then we'll start with the intro.
Mm-hmm. And welcome back to another edition of On the Board Sports. I am your host, Will Chiarucci, a.k.a. Will C., coming to you from Gotham Podcast Studios in Manhattan, New York. I'm joined by the one and only Mike Ortiz, who is truly, truly awesome with a capital A, controlling the ones and twos behind the glass here at Gotham. Today, there's a lot of things going on here today. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. Who's better than the camel on hump day? Who knows? But on that note, you got Game 7 of the World Series going on tonight after an epic game of the net for the Nationals, and Steven Strasburg going out there and playing his heart out, going 8 1/3 yesterday, giving the Nationals new life. And in Game 7, anything can happen. And then, on top of that, you got the Jets. What's going on here with the Jets? They're a disaster. They're a train wreck. They're a fire. We all know this. But everybody's saying, oh, it's the Dolphins. They're going up against the Dolphins. They'll get the W. No, don't. Let's not discount what's going on with the Dolphins either. They're due for a win. And with the way how both teams are, I think something's going to happen here. But again, that's whether here nor there. And the trade deadline passed. Thank God the Jets didn't trade away Jamal Adams or Robbie Anderson or Le'Veon Bell, because if one of those three players would have gotten traded, I think there would have been a lot of chaos from not only myself but from the New York media that cover the team, and from, most importantly, the more important people, the fans. I think the fans would have been absolutely irate about it. But we'll get to that in a minute. And also, too, NBA. Lots to talk about in the NBA with the Lakers. They're 3-1. Clippers are also riding high. The Knicks wound up getting their first win against the Bulls over the weekend. And then you got the Nets starting off kind of sort of somewhat slow, and you're seeing reports with Kyrie Irving and having his mood swings. But that's just the New York media trying to generate a story and trying to do whatever it is to get a dollar and try to get some clickbait. So we'll talk about all that stuff. But first, let's talk about probably the best story in New York right now, okay? And I'm not talking about the Buffalo Bills. I'm not talking about, what's going on with the Yankees and their pitching coach situation or what they're going to do. No. Or even the Mets and who their managerial candidates are. No. I'm talking about the New York Islanders. The video says it all right now. Camera's looking at me. I'm wearing my Islanders shirt. This team is 8-3, and they're looking good. They're winners of 7 in a row. And not many people, not many experts would have thought that this team would have competed. And yet here we are. We're talking about the New York Islanders in the top 3 in the Metro so far through the first month of the season. It's been absolutely crazy, to say the very least. But look, you got to give credit to where credit is due. Barry Trotz has implemented his system. There's a lot of injuries going on with the Islanders right now. Jordan Eberle is on the IL. Casey Cizikas just came back. Matt Martin, everybody's favorite Martin right now, went on the IL. And Tom Kuhnackel, another guy that was brought in as a vet presence, he's on the IL. So a lot of injuries, but the young kids that are coming up right now and stepping in, whether it be Devon Taves, Ryan Pulak, Matt Barzal, Anthony Beauvillier, Cole Boudreau, Michael Dalcole. Everybody wants to rip on Michael Dalcole for his production and for where he was taken in the draft 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, excuse me. About 5, yeah. But he's still young, and he's hustling, and he's finding his way. On a championship team in which Barry Trotz has coached a champion in the Washington Capitals, I think he'll tell you, and I think anybody reading the book from the Islanders dynasty or from any dynasty, from any sport, will tell you every player has a role on their team. And it's a team for a reason. And for the Islanders to go out there and play hard, and for them to be 8-3 right now, and especially their goaltending has been actually pretty good. I remember 3 weeks ago, at the beginning of the year, 3 games in, Semyon Varlamov isn't the goalie. This defense, it is what it is. We need a sniper. We need this. We need that. Why did we sign Varlamov? Where's Robin Leonard? Well, let's look at it like this right now, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Semyon Varlamov and Thomas Greiss are doing the job in front of the net, keeping those pucks out of the net, and you got to give credit to where credit is due here for this coaching staff that realistically, everybody wants to talk about the players. You got to put it on the coaching. It's a team effort, and I'm sure Barry would put it out there and do that. But realistically, with this team right now in place, there's a reason why you have the goaltending duo of Thomas Greiss and Semyon Varlamov basically averaging just about 2.3 goals per game. That's the duo combined, probably. More than likely. That's a pretty good number. And you look at the team that's coming into town on Friday in the Tampa Bay Lightning. They lost a winnable game they should have won, but they wound up losing their game to the New York Rangers. And, you got to look at it, man. This is a team that, in the Lightning, that last year, they had the best record in all of the league. In all of the league. Something that hadn't happened in nearly 20 years. They go out and they lose to the Columbus Blue Jackets in basically epic fashion by getting swept. A couple calls here and there went in favor of the Blue Jackets, of course, but they still had this team, and everybody, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, this and that, has projected this team to be a top team in the NHL still. But with that being said, right now as it stands, and I know it's early, we haven't even finished up October yet. And the Lightning play the Devils tonight, the lowly Devils. But and I hate to use this right now, but if the playoffs were to begin tonight, the Lightning would not be in. You have teams like Florida still trying to find their way. Pittsburgh, after the hot start that they had to their season, and they're still right there. But with the Islanders winning and the Hurricanes putting up some crazy numbers, and so have the Capitals. It's right there for them. And then you look at the Atlantic in the division where the Lightning are playing in. Boston, coming off of the 7-game series after last year's loss to the St. Louis Blues. They look like they're still dominant. Buffalo having Rasmus Dahlin and Jack Eichel and Jeff Skinner up there with Kyle Okposo. I know he doesn't really play that much, but Kyle Okposo is still on that team up with the Sabres. They're playing well. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs are right there as well. So for the Lightning to start off shaky somewhat is kind of surprising. But with that being said, with the Islanders, look, The Islanders are playing great. Make no mistake about it. However, their schedule, everybody wants to talk about their opponents and who they played up against. They almost lost to Florida in their first win of this winning streak. They really almost lost to St. Louis had it not been for the last 5 minutes of that game. And that might be the turning point of their season right there, with all the uncertainty and all the question that has gone on. But they wound up rallying against each other, and they went up against the Stanley Cup champion in Jordan Binnington in goal and in net. And they wound up going out there and winning and playing hard in overtime. You could feel – I was at that game for the Blues and Islanders game at Nassau Coliseum. You could feel the energy when Brock Nelson scored that goal. And you could hear the Let's Go Islanders chants reverberating at Fort Never Lose. But Matt Barzal tied it, and then Devon Taves won it in overtime. Make no mistake about it. That might have been the turning point of the year for the Islanders. If anybody wants to go back, and if they make it far, if they make it deep into the postseason or even into the regular season, and everybody wants to ask, all right, where did the Islanders hit it off right? Columbus Day against the Blues, coming back down from 2-0, basically with 5 minutes left in the third period. That was the start of it all. And then, you look at what the Islanders have done since then. They went up to Winnipeg, dominating fashion, beat Winnipeg up there 3-1. Columbus, they won in overtime 3-2. Had a couple of days off, played up against Arizona. Close game over there as well. Arizona coming off of their overtime win against the Rangers the day prior. They wound up winning 4-2. Ottawa's looking like Ottawa. Everybody thought who they thought they'd be. They're 4-2. And then they wound up winning that game 4-2, excuse me. And then Philadelphia, they beat Philadelphia 5-3 in dominating fashion, having another 4 days off. And they come back to the Coliseum and play up against the Tampa Bay Lightning again at 7 o'clock. So it's going to be interesting. And then the following day after that, they go out and they play Buffalo. And then they play Ottawa again. Ottawa this time, though, believe it or not, that's the first set of games at Barclays Center. Keep an eye out for that. There's not going to be a lot of people at Barclays Center for their game, but it's going to be really, really interesting to see what goes on with the Islanders moving forward here, because this is the last game before they go to Barclays on November the 5th. So it's going to be interesting because they play their next 3 out of their 4. It's weird with the way how the schedule is now. 5 games in the month of November are going to be at Barclays, with the one game being if you don't count the Islanders in November have They have 7 games, and 5 of them are going to be at Barclays. 2 of them are going to be against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And the Islanders do win games there, absolutely no doubt about it. But let's not mistake the fact that it's at Barclays. So there's a lot to be seen there. So we'll talk more about the Islanders as the year goes on, and we'll have a couple of special guests on throughout the year when it comes to the Islanders. But it's been a really interesting year so far, to say the very least. And at the beginning of the year, where there was a lot of turmoil and a lot of people were questioning this team's heart and character after their 2 losses to Washington and to Edmonton and then to Carolina on the road, 3 losses, so far this year. They've come back and they've responded very, very well. They got to go up against Tampa, though. And make no mistake about it, the Lightning coming into Nassau, depending on what happens with the scenario that happens tonight in New Jersey. They're going to be hungry for a win, and they're going to be playing hard. It's the Rangers of the South for a reason, because they have guys like McDonough down there and JT Miller. So we'll see what happens. But moving on now from the Islanders games, and also, too, another guy that should be mentioned that's getting called up today is Otto Koivula. Centerman, everybody's been clamoring for him to come up. And with the injuries to Matt Martin and Tom Kuhnhackl, it's looking as if like this kid's gonna play on Friday. Somebody's gonna have to take a seat. Might be Michael Dal-Cole, the aforementioned Michael Dal-Cole, who I'm sticking up for because I like him. I think he deserves a shot here, but ultimately at that point in time, maybe Koivula gets the start on Friday. But moving on now from the Islanders let's move on to the World Series here for a minute. I know I talked about the World Series before on the previous episode of the On the Board Sports podcast that came out this morning. But I got to talk about here for a second again with these umpires, because these umpires are just absolutely atrocious. You want to talk about strike calls that we're all using the Fox box and the strike zone and everything like that. But for a call to be a judgmental call, to not be reviewed and everything like that, I know I hit on the A-Rod thing in the last episode with Game 6 being yesterday. And with the whole A-Rod scenario, in case you've been living under a rock or you don't know, Game 6, 2004 ALCS, A-Rod's up at the plate going up against Bronson Arroyo. And A-Rod hits a little tapper back to the pitcher up the first baseline. And Bronson picks it up. Arroyo tries to make the tag. A-Rod slaps at the ball. Ball goes squirting out of the glove, goes over to right field, over by the scoreboard, over by the ads at the old Yankee Stadium. A-Rod goes to second. Umpires huddle. They huddle after what had happened, and they call him out afterward. Different scenario. I get that 100%. But when you look at it, it's just a bad thing. And this is totally overshadowing. This is going to overshadow Steven Strasburg's performance for him going 8 1/3. And rightfully so. And everything will overshadow, the whole call overshadows the Rendon home run that he hit and the Steven Strasburg performance. Because this is what sports radio and everybody else is going to be talking about. But with that being said, the Nationals went out and they won yesterday. They forced Game 7. Steven Strasburg pitched the game of his life. And, Game 7's tonight. Anything is possible with Game 7. So I'm looking forward to it tonight. You got Max Scherzer going up against Zach Greinke. Everybody's talking about these Zach Greinke issues. He's home. I know there's a lot of pressure on him. This is the biggest game he's ever pitched in his life. I understand that. But if there's one guy that could come through for his team, at least throughout for one game anyway, it's Zach Greinke. And if something happens to Zach Greinke tonight, whether it be he gives up 1 or 2 runs through the first 3 innings, you better bet that A.J. Hinch is going after and putting in Garrett Cole in Game 7, and he's going to go the distance. Game 7 can produce anybody. Game 7 can produce a hero at any given moment. It's always the unsung hero that comes through in the clutch. Don't expect the star to come through tonight. No. Expect the unexpected. Who knows? Maybe for the Nationals, like I said before, it might be the baby shark. It might be the guy that started this whole baby shark phenomenon in Geraldo Parra. Who knows? It can happen. But the thing here is, it's going to be a very close game. It's going to be a very tightly contested game. And we know that Minute Maid Park is going to be absolutely bonkers tonight. It's going to be loud. But, again, we've seen some crazier things in the World Series and in history and with Game 7. So many people want to talk about Game 7 winners. Here's a fun fact for you. The last 3 clinching World Series games have all been on the road. Actually, if you really think about it, 5. The last 5 World Series winners have clinched on the road. Boston did it in Los Angeles. Houston did it in Los Angeles. The Cubs did it in Cleveland in one of the crazier Game 7s I think anybody will remember. 2015. Yeah, the Royals won in 5, but they won in Citi Field in a tough, hostile environment. And San Francisco, when Madison Bumgarner came out and he won his World Series MVP, he did it in 2014 at a tough and hostile Ewing Kauffman Stadium. Does the trend break tonight? All 3 wins for both teams have come on the road. Can Mad Max come through for the Nationals and give them their first World Series win ever? Can the Astros go out tonight and rely on Zach Greinke and probably Garrett Cole coming out of the bullpen tonight? That's what's going to happen. All arms are going to be available. Can Zach Greinke and can the Astros win their second World Series in 3 years? That all remains to be seen. But it's going to be very, very interesting, to say the very least, in Game 7. No lineups yet posted, but we do know those 2 starters are going to go out there. It's going to be a very closely contested ball game. Make no mistake about it. Who do I choose as far as who wins tonight? I don't know. But I will pick the Nationals tonight. Hopefully I don't, put the jinx down on it. I would love to see the Nationals. My heart of hearts. I was down in Washington, D.C. this past August, and their stadium, Nats Park, is absolutely beautiful. You go there, you go watch a baseball game, you could. I said it before, I'll say it again. If they win more, and they've been winning, you could feel the camaraderie and you could feel the energy at Nats Park. They have to develop a fan base. And by that, if they win tonight, there'll be a lot more baseball fans at Nats Park next year. I can tell you that. Season tickets will double. And they probably were already doubled. But that's whether here nor there. But in reality, I would expect the Astros to go out there and win. But I do want to see the Nationals. My heart of hearts. I want to see the Nationals win it. Just something different. It's a good feel-good story. Team that finished off 15 games under 500 in May. Nobody gave them a chance. Everybody's talking about trading Max Scherzer this and who they're going to get back in return. And then to go on the run that they have, give me Washington tonight. I think they close it out. They're hungrier. Moving on now from the World Series to the NFL and the Jets. My goodness. What a crazy set of circumstances with the New York Jets. They go out, and I called it last week on the show here. They traded away Leonard Williams. And they go out, and he wasn't going to stay. They needed value. And the only team to call in was the Giants. And the Giants wound up giving up a third and a fifth rounder, and it might be a fourth rounder if they re-sign him. So they give up a third and a fourth rounder to this year's draft, and it might be next year's with that fourth rounder. I don't know what Gettleman's thinking. I really don't. 2-6. You get to see on social media Leonard Williams thanking the Jets, and then he's really looking forward to building his future with the Giants, at least for the half a season anyway. But make no mistake about it for the Jets. They need draft picks, and they need it in the worst way. There has been no body outside of the last 3 years of their first-round draft picks, nobody that is still on this team since 2010 with their draft class. Quincy Enunwa is the only exception, but he's going to be here for about another 3 years on the contract. And everybody's talking about career-ending injury with the neck. I hope he comes back fast, and I hope he's doing okay. But, you know, it just remains to be seen over here with it. The Jets need to do something better. And look, we've seen it with regards to with the way how the Jets have played this year. They're not good. I thought they'd be at least a wild card team fighting for a wild card spot. Obviously, like I said before, too, when you have Sam Darnold go out with mono after week 1, you have Luke Falk coming in after Trevor Siemian got knocked down by Myles Garrett. Ends the season. Done. It's not fun. Then Sam comes back, puts up the game probably of his career, of his young career right now. That's got to be number 1 to go up against the Cowboys like that. Had a nice game, but it just, afterward, like I said, here are the Jets. They're coming in. And they just didn't do it. They didn't do it, you know. They really crapped the bed against New England. And this past week, they were right there. They were literally right there. And they wound up blowing that game too. Thought it would be closer, but their offensive line is terrible. I've been saying this now for weeks. The head coach, I think he's gone after the season's over. It's not Joe Douglas's hire. But at that very same point in time, I think one has to understand and look at what's going on here with the Jets. Adam Gase, everybody wants to blame the head coach. When you have Osimwe, telling you that he's torn his shoulder and that he wants to have a second opinion, and you don't talk to the guy, you lost credit in my book with everything that's going on. Like, what do you want? What do you want to do? When you don't talk to a player, I feel like you lose that connection in the locker room. And then, on top of that, with everything that's gone on with Jamal Adams, that's been absolutely unbelievable. And how can Jamal defend himself besides going out on social media and then having to wait for media day and then having to wait for Joe Douglas to give his little reaction? Would love to hear what Chris Johnson has to say about all this, the owner. I know Woody's out in London doing his thing right now for the Trump administration, but my God. The Jets right now are an absolute mess. But they still have Adams. And they still have Le'Veon Bell, who is in my eyes, he's really matured a lot. I think he bought into the Jets, and I think he bought into it. Last week, I know I said about the free agents, but if there's one guy that I feel like after watching that video, it's him to lead a team, and he should have the captain patch right next to him. And if he doesn't, then he's a outspoken leader because he's literally right there. And I really do firmly believe in that. And then they kept Robbie Anderson too. Hey, they got to go out there and they got to get a number one receiver this offseason, whether it be in the draft with their high selection or whether it be they trade down and they try and get something. But the bottom line here is that they have to go out and do something. And with the Dolphins this week, it's going to be a crazy, crazy thing that's going to happen. But with that being said, I'm going to have to go with the Dolphins here getting their first win. Maybe sometimes a loss is a blessing in disguise for a franchise. I'm not rooting for the loss. I don't want to see a loss. But in my honest opinion, the Jets lose in heartbreaking fashion, and Ryan Fitzpatrick finds some way to beat this team. That's just me. I'm rooting for the Jets. I want to see them win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Miami pulls out a W out their ass. That's just me. So we'll get into picks here. Right now, Sean has the 49ers, the Texans, Eagles, Vikings, Colts, Jets, Bills, Titans, Lions, Seahawks, Packers, Browns, Ravens, and the upset special. I guess that's his upset special. And obviously the Cowboys. For me, myself, I'm going to have to go with the Dolphins here, getting their first win of the year. I know things are looking bleak down in Miami, but you got the 49ers and the Cardinals going up against each other. I'm going to have to go with the 49ers. That's a Thursday night game. Then you have the Texans and the Jaguars. I'm going to have to go with the Texans. Colts at the Steelers. It's a close game here, but I'm going to have to go with the Colts. Then you got the Bears and the Eagles. Going to go with the Eagles here at home. Vikings, Chiefs. Going to go with the Vikings on the road. Titans and the Panthers. Boy, that's a close game. I'm going to have to go with the Panthers at home. I think they learned their lesson after what had happened down in San Francisco. Redskins and the Bills. Going to go with the Bills. Buccaneers at the Seahawks. Going to go with the Seahawks at home. The Lions and the Raiders. This is going to be a really interesting game here because these are two 500 teams and everything like that. Going to have to go with the Raiders at home. Packers at Chargers. Going to go with the Packers. Browns at Broncos. Going to go with the Browns. I think they picked themselves up. No Joe Flacco this week either. Patriots at Ravens. I think that this is the team that might give the Patriots their first loss. I think Lamar Jackson tries to find a way. I'm going to have to go with the Ravens here as well as my upset special. And then the Cowboys and the Giants. Give me the Cowboys at home, on the road against the Giants. So those are our picks right there. I haven't calculated the wins yet, but it's going to be a very interesting week here. I know Sean's got a couple wins on me, but we'll see what happens there. And then moving on now finally to the NBA. Hey, man, look, listen. In the NBA, what more do you want? It's only one weekend, and we'll save the best for last, and I'll talk a little bit more with it in the standings right now. Philadelphia, not surprisingly, starting off 3-0. Miami, through the first 4 games of the year, they're 3-1. Toronto, a little surprising, but they're the NBA champs, so they're probably riding high right now. Milwaukee, again, 2-1. All these games, I don't get why we're going to be talking about basketball. It's only three games in. It's not like hockey where you're already a month in and everything like that. But it's the hype train. It's the people that want to talk about it. And when you have a news station and a news outlet like ESPN covering the NBA, everybody's going to be talking about it. And especially here living in New York, everybody's going to be talking about what's going on with the Nets, what's going on with the Knicks. The Knicks wound up getting their first win against the Bulls over the weekend. Bobby Portis, everybody's calling it the Bobby Portis revenge game against the Bulls. It's only one game. Can we relax? Can we relax? Like, seriously. It's only one game. And I love the Knick hype train. Just like the Giant hype train whenever they win. Just like the Rangers hype train or even the Yankees hype train. Like, can we please stop hyping somebody up after one win? Especially me with the Jets after one win. Can we please, and I'm even talking to myself here about it too, can we please stop? It's one win. Build off of the one win and see what happens. Guys are going around Twitter like, yeah, we beat the Bulls. Knicks beat the Bulls. Okay. Bulls are an up-and-coming team. You didn't go up against the Bulls from 10 years ago with MVP Derrick Rose or 98 or the 98 Bulls with Jordan. No. You went up against the lowly Chicago Bulls team that's a young and up-and-coming team. Stop. Please stop. The Nets, on the other hand, they're 1-2. And you're hearing all this talk with Kyrie Irving and his mood swings. Why are we talking about this, Will? Why? Because nobody has nothing better to write. Who cares? Who cares about his mood swings? We all have mood swings. Who cares about it? The guy is a winner. Everywhere he's went. Cleveland, when LeBron got there, they won. Boston, when he was there up in Boston for a little bit of time, he won games. It's 3 games into the season, people, and already we're talking about mood swings. Mood swings. Let the guy play. They came up having 2 tough losses. This team should be 3-0. The Minnesota game, opening night. What if Kyrie hits that? Nobody's going to be talking about mood swings. They lost in heartbreaking fashion against Memphis. John Morant with the 3, the assist for the 3. You kidding me? We're going to talk about mood swings? Give me a break. Give me a break. I don't get it. And then yesterday, this is what I love too. Lakers go out, they get their first win of the year on Tuesday. They wound up winning, 3 games. They're in the top 5, and they're right there. But they wound up getting the first of their We Want tacos from the Jack in the Box, and everybody's making a big deal over that. And Anthony Davis had himself a 40-20 game, the first player since Shaquille O'Neal to go out there and do that. So, again, look, I don't know. I don't know. San Antonio, we'll go in the standings, and then I'll get into my final thought. San Antonio's 3-0. Minnesota's 3-0. Karl Anthony Towns looks like he's the real deal. The LA Clippers, they're expected to be where they are. They're 3-1. Dallas, again, 4 games, but they're holding themselves down. The Lakers, they're right there. The Jazz are right there. Denver, everything can change. Make no mistake about it. Sacramento is 0-4. New Orleans, they've had a couple of close games that realistically should have went in their favor, but they didn't. They're 0-4. Oklahoma City's 1-3. These are the teams that are the bottom dwellers that are right there that we kind of sort of somewhat expected, with the exception of Sacramento in my eyes. Still having the young team, but everybody wants to blame Luke Walton. Just go out there and play basketball, folks. Okay? Just play it. Don't blame others of what's going on with their situation. Indiana's 0-3, and they're dead last in the league. It's still early, but come back to me next week or within another week or two. I remember when the Clippers started off like undefeated back in 03, 04, and they had like one of the best records in the first week. And what happened? They didn't make the playoffs, and they wound up going in the lottery. And they wound up drafting Chris Kaman. Don't buy into the hype yet with the first week of the season. Don't. Really? Mood swings? My God. Can we talk about something better, please, New York media? You guys are getting paid to write about stuff, and you guys are talking about mood swings. When a couple of these games have been really decided by literally a point less. Embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing that we're talking about mood swings. Can we talk about basketball? Can we talk about basketball instead of mood swings? Oh, my God. Absolutely utter embarrassment. All right. Well, that's going to just about wrap it up here for the On the Board Sports podcast. I really have no other final thoughts. Actually, I do have one final thought here. Happy birthday to my father, Billy Chiarucci. He's going to be turning 64 this Sunday, November 3rd. He's not a diehard sports fan, kind of a Met fan and an Islander fan to a degree. But as far as I know, it's his birthday on Sunday. Happy 64th birthday to Billy Chiarucci. I love you, bud. You work hard. And, it's kind of sort of somewhat a thankless job, but being a truck driver and all, but I just want to say thank you. 64. When you still need me, will you still feed me when I'm 64? On that note, for everybody here at Gotham, and for Mike Ortiz, our wonderful producer controlling the ones and twos behind the glass here at Gotham, I'm your host, Will Chiarucci, logging out. And for Sean as well. Sean, I wish you were here, bud. You got to come back on soon. Maybe he will. Sooner rather than later, but we'll see what happens. For everybody here at Gotham and for myself, I am your host, Will Chiarucci, logging out. We will talk to you guys soon. Peace out. It's going.